we may have crowned a champion in 2021, but it's already time to think about next year.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the biggest part of next year right now in the offseason? Free agents. So we're going to bring you free agent frenzy. Looking at the quarterback position today, let's get straight to it.
Welcome to the FantasyLand Football Podcast.
Hello there. Welcome into the show.
Wow.
This is Zach. That is Daniel Badaki, and it is a beautiful Thursday morning, the 11th of February.
11.
Tom Brady. Is it?
Well, not really, but like, you know how people say it's 11/11, make a wish? It's going to be 11/11 on the 11th.
But it's 2021, so technically, and it's not even November.
Well, I'm saying like 11. But you get what I'm
I don't
saying?
think that worked out for you.
Do you know how people say that? Oh, hey guys, it's 11/11, make a wish.
11/11, make a wish. It's not 11/11 when we're recording this, but if it was, that would be pretty cool. Speaking of people feeling good, Tom Brady, currently in Tampa Bay, just absolutely feeling himself. Did you see the video of him
Yeah, bro.
walking out of the parade?
It's just classic. He threw the Lombardi trophy from boat to Gronk. He got off the boat and he was stumbling. His friend had to help him walk up straight. He's having a good old time in Tampa.
Yeah. He said it's just a little avocado tequila, which is hilarious considering his diet that it's avocado tequila. I just find that hilarious. Obviously, he's feeling himself, and he deserves to party. You know, he deserves to have a nice little celebration. I mean,
7.
This man's done some incredible things. Brought a championship to Tampa Bay, a team that was 7-9 last year. They're now Super Bowl champions. So good on Tom feeling himself. You know, I got to try some avocado tequila. I've never tried any avocado alcohol at all. Have you?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. Well, the more you know. All right, let's talk about some news to open the show.
What is going on here?
All right, need to know news. What is going on in the National Football League? Well, lots of need to know news, mostly about trades and free agency. It is that time of year. Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent, Badaki, and there are quite a few teams interested in Corvette. Are you surprised by this?
Yeah, Corvette, no question. Raiders and the Jets have significant interest in signing Juju Smith. I don't know if you guys heard of Juju Smith talking about how he wants to go to the Chargers, or he was playing with Austin Eckler playing Fortnite, and he was saying, let's go to the Chargers with my boy Keenan Allen. But Raiders and Jets are new. I think at least the Raiders could be potentially a good fit for him, but Jets, his value in fantasy would plummet.
Yeah, depending on who their quarterback is and what moves they make in the free agency, I agree. But the Raiders is interesting. I think Juju might very well be attracted to a place like Las Vegas because I feel like he actually fits a role they need there. They have some good pieces, but I think he could really fit a role to help this team. That'll be interesting to monitor. Carson Wentz, we talked about him a bunch on the last show. All these teams are saying that they're not willing to meet Philly's demands, and I think that's fair. I think Philly needs to lower their asking price if they're going to trade Carson Wentz. I just don't see it happening with what they're currently asking.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm actually really interested to see what other... I wish when deals go down that you can see what they offered. I wish like it was a public information.
Right.
The Jets just put in 2 picks, like 2 second-round picks, and they hella lowballed him, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Hella lowballed the Eagles. Like, I think that would be cool, but I really want to know who's been offering or what they've been offering.
Yeah. Well, obviously the Eagles say they want a Matthew Stafford type package. That's not going to happen.
No way.
More quarterbacks to talk about on Need to Know News. Sam Darnold. Apparently, the Colts are rumored to have interest in Sam Darnold. This makes sense to me because they are going to take two approaches this offseason. Do they sign their long-term guy that they believe in, or do they have another one-year rental type quarterback this year like they did last year? Does this feel like a good fit, Sam Darnold, to the Colts?
It's hard to say. You know, there's so much potential in Sam Darnold. I wonder if it's him, if it's the people that are around him. Is it the team that he's on? Is it because he doesn't have enough weapons? Is it because he didn't have a good offensive line when he first came into the league? Like, what is it? You know, so I guess we really won't understand how good he can be. And if he does go to the Colts, can he really make an impact there? Like, is Sam Darnold good enough?
I would love to see him in a team that, first off, an organization that has some stability and some weapons around him. I would love to see. I really do think Sam is a really talented quarterback. You've seen some of the throws he made this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't the best year, but this dude's got talent. I would love to see him land in a great position. And speaking of, just to kind of add fuel to this Sam Darnold rumor, John McClain of ESPN reports the Jets will be the team to trade for Watson if the Texans trade him, which contradicts many reports we've heard that Deshaun doesn't want to go to the Jets. Is it just all rumors flying at this point? Is there really any solid reporting you can rely on right now with these kind of things?
I think it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I believe that if Deshaun Watson really has control of where he's going to go with the no trade clause, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, if he really has, the control of it, and the Jets are throwing everything at the Texans, and Deshaun is just saying no, then he's not going to go. Like, he would rather. I'm assuming he would rather sit and wait than go
for
on
the right team.
For the right team, or maybe just sit out the year, then go play for the Jets.
And I just had a thought. I think for Deshaun Watson, he obviously wants to go to a team that has assets to build around him.
Right.
So maybe it's not the worst situation for him. Not that he's doing this on purpose, Texans fans, when you hear this. But maybe it's not a terrible idea for him to continue to say no to teams that are offering crazy packages that he doesn't want to go to. So maybe eventually his trade value, out of desperation, out of, we need to get our organization on track.
Right.
The trade value goes down a little bit. And then maybe he is given for the same type of package Matthew Stafford was given, and he still has a chance to build around the team he goes to.
Yeah.
That's something he definitely has to keep into consideration. Are they giving up too much to actually build around me? If the Jets gave up 3 first-round picks, is that really a great place for Watson to be? So just conversations I think he's probably having with his agent.
Yeah, I also believe that what if he's waiting? What if he's waiting for the draft to see where all the new guys are going to come in, to see where they fall, like a Devontae Smith, like a Jamar Chase, like a Jalen Waddle, to see, I want to play with those guys. I like new, fresh, young legs on my team.
Yeah.
If they land to a team that they want, fresh legs. If they land on a team that he really wants to play on, he can be like, you know what? I like to go there because now their team is kind of complete and they just need the quarterback piece, the main piece.
Yeah. Yeah. No side piece, only main piece. All right, we've got some great news for Washington football team fans like myself. Taylor Heineke, as Chase Young likes to say, has signed a 2-year extension with a Washington football team. He will be a Washington football team member for at least 2 years unless any trades happen. But this is great news. Washington fans. I'm a Washington fan. I will relate with you. We saw a lot of hope the last time we saw Heineke play in 2 games for our team.
Right.
And I am not excited, but I know some Washington team fans were like, we lost to the Super Bowl champions. Yeah, we should be pumped about that. No, guys, we lost. I mean, I think it's great that we lost to the guys who won, but that's not something to celebrate by any means. You don't celebrate a loss in any scenario. That being said, Taylor Heineke still balled out against the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This could be good for the Washington football team.
Yeah, I think it could be good. Play 2 games, get a 2-year contract. That's what it seems like they're giving out in Washington. So, but
okay, a little bit of shade here. Okay, I see how it's going.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I think that kind of, in my mind, and my thought process is kind of like, are they really going to go for a quarterback now? Is Alex Smith? What's going to happen with Alex Smith? Like, does he stay? Obviously, he's going to stay. I'm assuming he stays. I don't know what his contract is looking like, but I'm assuming
a lot of conversations there, because there are people who are assuming maybe he does retire. I'm not sure how durable he currently is in the state. I love the story. Absolutely deserved comeback player of the year. As a Washington fan, I'm really worried. Like, I want him to just be okay and retire. But if there's more in him, and he's got a lot of money left on the contract, maybe he does stay. That being said, what Ron Rivera said last year was Washington did not bring enough talent in at the quarterback position to have competition. Right. And I think this isn't I don't think they're done at all. I don't think they're done. I think there will absolutely be in the market for more quarterback competition, whether that's through the draft, whether that's through free agency or trade. I am 99% sure that there will be another quarterback signed to Washington in this offseason.
Are you really quick? I don't. For me, my thought process is that I don't see them getting a quarterback. I don't see them getting a young quarterback out of free agency. I see them getting somebody to compete, like maybe one of the guys that we're going to be talking about later. I don't want to say their names because I don't want to kind of ruin it, but we can kind of talk about it later, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't love most of the quarterbacks we're going to talk about as a fit for us. Mm-hmm. But I think competition is always better to bring in competition when you don't have a solidified quarterback position. You always want to bring in competition and see what you can bring out of people. So it'll be interesting to see. The last bit of news we have, which is kind of coming out of left field, but maybe people should not be so surprised. Russell Wilson, Badaki. Wow. A lot of controversy around how he feels in Seattle.
Yeah, there's a lot of talks about him. He came out with reports about how he wants a better offensive line, and now. Not like, guys, maybe we don't have the best year next year, and we can get a good offensive line in the next draft, or maybe we trade for a lineman or something next year. No, he wants it now, this year, going to this year, so he can stop getting sacked, which is interesting. Yeah. But look, one funny thing is that Brandon Marshall said something. Hey,
oh my gosh, okay,
right? Russ is trying, end quote. I quote, Russ is trying to find a classy way to move out of Seattle. End quote. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is Brandon Marshall a credible source? I mean, he obviously played with him in 2018. I think it was 18 or 19. Is he really somebody that we should be listening to? Because Brandon Marshall kind of spits out a lot of stuff, out of emotion, a lot of anger, out of whatever.
Is he a reliable source?
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Look, I love Brandon Marshall. I love him as a player. I just don't know that he's only played with Russ in 2018, which he wasn't a crucial part of that team. He was definitely past his prime. What relationship they have, I don't know. I didn't think it was this close of a relationship. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are much closer with Russell. Right. I don't know that Russell Wilson would feel so comfortable with Brandon Marshall to say, hey, I actually want to get out of here. Right. I could be wrong on that, right? So I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt. However, to me, this feels more of I really need help because I've been sacked more than most quarterbacks in the league since my career started, rather than I want out. Okay. I feel like Russ is... I personally feel like he would love to retire a Seahawk it would feel so strange for him to continue his career elsewhere. That being said, we could say the same thing about Tom Brady last year. We could have said the same thing about Peyton Manning when he left the Colts. It's always weird to see a guy start a new chapter. However, some people, a chapter comes to an end.
Right.
So I know I'm not giving a clear answer, really, but I don't really know. I just don't see him. I know he loves his family ties in Seattle. He is a religious guy. He has a connection with a church there, a very strong connection. I think that is probably a big part of his life and his kids and his family's life. I just don't see him wanting to move. However, I could be wrong. Do you feel like he is after a new change of scenery?
I think he's trying to. I think you're right. I think what he's trying to do. If you guys follow Russell Wilson, he's all about that Mamba mentality. He was a big advocate of Kobe Bryant. He loved the Mamba mentality, and that mindset is all about putting 100, not even 100, like 200% into everything that you do, your craft, and that's what Kobe Bryant did, and that's what Russell Wilson is kind of picking up on. You know, he wants to leave that legacy that, you know, I was the best quarterback in the league, or was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I changed the game. I've done this. I've done that, and I think he wants to stay with this team. I believe so. I think he would like to stay in Seattle. He would like to be planted in one place. If he does leave, it must be because, you know, the soil is rotting there with Pete Carroll and that organization. But I think he stays. I think that they're going to try everything in their power to get an offensive line. You know, maybe they trade away some pieces on the defense. And, you know, Russ can score. Let's not forget that. Russ has the weapons around him. So maybe they loosen up on the defense in a way. They trade some people away.
How much more loose could they get? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could happen. I don't know, but it's a hard position for Seattle to be in because I'm sure they're doing their best. But this tells me two things. Firstly, he has that Mamba mentality, which I feel I have that Mamba mentality. Me and Chick-fil-A, it's kind of like I give almost 200% of almost every meal I have to Chick-fil-A. I would choose it every day. Shout out to Chick-fil-A. If you ever hear this and you work for Chick-fil-A, you know, just give us those hookups. I am a red tier member. Anyway, that has nothing to do with football. Just want to throw out a little thing on that. Second, and this is on the real, this has probably been a conversation that he has had with his organization many, many times for him to actually publicly come out and say, yes, I need the O-line to be better. You know, he's not the type of player to just not address it with an organization. So this is something he has obviously been thinking about for a while. And if it does mean that much to him, because, hey, here's the reality, Seattle. If you don't protect Russell Wilson, his career might not be as long as he wants it to be.
Right.
So maybe that is a bigger issue for him, and it isn't just smoke and mirrors. Regardless, this is going to be a fun storyline to watch. I can't imagine Russell Wilson being on a different team to start next year. However, this offseason, we have said it's an NBA-type offseason. Literally anything could happen. So is there any teams that come to mind? If this is true and they do trade him, which is probably less than 1% chance, what team comes to mind? He would go to a contender. Who would that be?
It's really hard to say. My goodness, I didn't really think about where.
Can I pose one? Mm-hmm. Because I feel like we do this every time there's a quarterback that has an opportunity to trade teams. What about the Colts? What if you put Russell Wilson in the Colts? I don't know. I mean, I just feel like that could be a really great fit for him. I think Washington. I'm a little bit biased, but that could be a great fit. I think of teams that are championship ready, but they're a quarterback away. Maybe Washington is fully there yet.
Yeah, I like Washington. I like what was the other team that the Colts? You said the Colts. The first team that came to mind when I pulled up the list of all the team was the Saints.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great fit.
Yeah, that cap space is going to be hard to work with, but this is all hypothetical. It's all fun at this point.
Yeah.
my goodness, there is a lot of need-to-know news, and there is going to continue to be during the offseason. But guess what? The easiest way for you to keep up with all things free agency, trades, fantasy football, NFL, breaking news is to follow us on our social media platforms. And we've made it so easy for you to find those. Just go to this one link, solo.to/fantasylandfootball. Again, that's solo.to/fantasylandfootball. That one link has, basically, it's your way to find everything that we do. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can watch us on YouTube and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell so you don't miss any notifications. And, of course, you can listen to the podcast on any podcast platform in the world. All right. We are going to be talking right now about free agents. We got a little free agent frenzy. And there are some quarterbacks we're going to talk about today. And they want to get paid.
Tell them to bring me my money.
Okay. We've got 4 quarterbacks to talk about. We wanted to really narrow down this list, Badaki, because there's a lot of free agent quarterbacks, but we don't really think that you're going to get very hyped about Jacoby Brissett in fantasy football, right? So we tried to find some relevant quarterbacks that could have an impact on either the team they land in or the team they are going to re-sign with. Correct. Regardless, who is the first quarterback we're talking about today, Badaki?
Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. You know, he is... Obviously, we all know about Dak Prescott. You know, he was franchise tagged last year. He obviously got hurt last year, week 5 against the Giants. And he broke his ankle. His ankle was... I don't know if you saw that. It was gruesome. It was pretty bad. But... Look, there's a lot of talks. Latest report is that Dak and Dallas are not close to a long-term deal. And I think that's what we need to tell you right now is that these two, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, aren't close to a deal. And if they do not come to a deal, they are likely to franchise tag him for the second time, which is decent money for Dak, $37.7 million for him to kind of get, paid to...
Yeah, I'll be honest. If I ever made $37 million in my entire life, I feel like I've done pretty well, and he's going to make that in 1 year if they franchise tag him. $31 million last year. I don't know if this is the right move for Dallas long term to franchise tag. I just say franchise Dak. Franchise tag Dak. That's a say that 3 times in a row fast. But I'm not sure it's in the best interest of the Dallas Cowboys to franchise tag him again, because you really want to sign him to a long contract so it doesn't hurt your cap so much. Right. And maybe that's from what we've heard, that is where the disagreeing, a little bit of tension, not able to come to a conclusion between these two sides is the total years of the contract. Correct. The Cowboys want to give him a 5-year deal. Dak wants a 4-year deal. And why is that the case? Well, in 4 years, obviously, if things go right with NFL, the salary cap will be higher. And Dak will be younger than if it was 5 years. Crazy math how that works, right? He will be a more valuable player in 4 years when the cap is much higher, and he can go for a second round with a massive contract again. That's how he's thinking it. That's how his camp and his agent is presenting it. Where the Cowboys are saying, we want you for the 5 years. Right. We don't want to have to, think about that 5th year where we have to re-sign you for that big money. That's where that tension mainly lies. But it seems like both teams want to come to a conclusion, want to make an agreement. It's just that one little detail they can't work out.
Yeah, it's smart on Dak Prescott's side, and I think it's smart from the Cowboys side. I think, the Cowboys want to protect themselves. They don't want to sign a 5-year contract, and let's say Dak Prescott isn't the guy. Let's say Dak Prescott gets hurt again, whatever the case may be. So the Cowboys are trying to save some money, I guess, in the long haul by giving him the 5-year deal and be like, what? You didn't really do too well. This is the reasons why. Where Dak is like, well, even if I don't do well, I still get the money that I really want. So it's hard. It's hard to say. It's hard to really picture Dak Prescott not as a Cowboy.
I just don't see that happening. We were gonna bring some potential fits, but I really think he's gonna be a Cowboy. I would say there's less than 1% that he's not a Cowboy. They're either gonna franchise tag him or sign him to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to advocate, and I think you'd probably see it the same way, that the Cowboys don't have as much leverage as they thought they would. They brought in Andy Dalton. And I'm sure Jerry Jones and ownership was thinking when Dak went down, okay, we're going to see Andy Dalton win some games and play pretty decently for us. And that's going to show that we don't necessarily need Dak Prescott.
Right.
That wasn't the case. They were awful without Dak. And this offense looked completely different. It went from a top 5, top 6 offense in the league to shockingly bad. I feel like, if anything, this year, despite the injury, has shown that Dak Prescott is a very valuable asset to this franchise, and they should probably maybe bend a little bit more. That's maybe the wrong word to use. Than Dak will bend. Considering his ankle, it bent pretty far, but that's maybe not the right verbiage to use. But I think Dak has a leverage here. I feel like they have to kind of meet him where he wants to meet.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's so hard, like it's hard because he got hurt. He was setting himself in that position to get paid, and he got hurt. Let's not forget in fantasy he was a top 3 quarterback. Okay, he was really balling out. He would think he was averaging like a little bit over 30 points per game.
Yeah,
and he was setting himself up for success.
There
was in the beginning of the first 3 weeks, we were like, Dak Prescott should have gotten paid. The Cowboys should have paid him. The Cowboys, like, do we remember that?
Oh, I remember saying to you, look, they messed up.
Yeah.
Like, they should have signed him to a long-term deal already.
Yeah.
And maybe that's still the case. I don't know.
It's hard, but I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see him going anywhere. I think he stays. I think that it would be a really bad move if the Cowboys go anywhere else, unless the only move I can see them doing is No, they can't even. I don't think that would be smart. Is maybe they franchise tag Dak and they draft a young quarterback that can take over, even if he doesn't perform well. But I'm not really sure how that works. The Cowboys currently have the 10th, so they kind of fall in where they can get a quarterback.
You know what? It's a very different scenario, but I feel like if they tried that, it wouldn't look all that different than what the Packers looked like after they drafted Jordan Love. Hey,
Right.
You got a top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterback. You decided to draft one in the first round. You really needed help elsewhere. I just don't know. Obviously, very different scenarios. Aaron Rodgers is a much better quarterback than Dak. I don't know what their careers will look like in the end. However, fantasy impact, Dak Prescott, we assume he re-signs with the Cowboys. He is probably still a top 5 fantasy quarterback next year, right? I don't think the injury worries me too much. I still feel like he will produce as a top 5 quarterback. However, is there any sort of hesitancy to draft him considering the injury? Do you take less of a chance on Dak? What's the strategy next year?
I don't think, for me, I kind of encourage that. I don't think you should. I'm with you. I'm not worried about the ankle. I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to bounce back. I think he's going to have a great year. I think the first couple weeks is going to be hard for him. He needs to get ready to get hit. It's just like anyone else, torn ACL or broken arm or leg, whatever the case may be. They have to get ready. They have to prepare themselves to get hit. So I think the first 3 weeks is going to be a tough stretch. But if you're okay to sit on that and you believe in Dak Prescott and those weapons around him, because he does have a lot of weapons. Let's not forget CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, Zeke behind him. Obviously, Jason Witten retired. Hopefully they get well, technically Jason Witten was with the Raiders, but
yeah, still. I think they will have hopefully some more options at tight end this year.
Yeah,
but okay,
I think he's still a top. You're right. He's still a top 5 fantasy quarterback. There's no Dak Prescott, I still believe he will probably fall a little bit this year. Maybe he will fall one round potentially, but it won't be significant.
Let's say Dak Prescott's on the board in the 7th round. Are you comfortable taking him there in the 7th round? That feels comfy for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next quarterback that we're going to be talking about here is Jameis Winston.
You see that?
Let's get that W. You know what that is? That is a W.
That's a W.
I'll never forget the reaction of everyone in that huddle who were just like, "What?" It's like that meme where that guy's like, "What?"
But it's like, let's eat. Let's eat.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Hopefully he can learn a thing or two from Drew Brees about pre-game speeches before Drew officially retires. But let's talk about his current situation, right? He's obviously had that 1-year deal with the Saints last year, kind of sat for most of the year, got to know the organization got to know him. ESPN reports that Sean Payton spoke glowingly about Winston, saying they would like to re-sign him sooner than later.
Right.
I don't know if you see Jameis the same way I do. And in fact, I know that you don't. We're going to talk about that. But from the Saints' perspective, do you like Jameis signing a long-term deal with the Saints?
I don't like him.
For the Saints?
Say that again, sorry?
The Saints? Do you like that? For the Saints side of the deal?
No, for the Saints, I think for a long-term deal, I don't think it's a smart move. And when I say long-term deal, anything over 3 years plus is too much, in my opinion. I think you can sign it to another 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal, because I think you still have Taysom Hill, even if he doesn't perform well. I mean, we've seen Taysom Hill play. He was 3-1 when Drew Brees got hurt. I think he knows, he's proven himself that he can win games and that he can be versatile. He can throw the ball and he can run. He can do whatever they really want him to do. But look, I'm not excited about this at all.
Okay.
There's so much I can kind of talk about Jameis, but I kind of want you to tell us why you like him, because I know you really like him, and then I kind of want to end it with, this is why I don't think so.
I'm not in love with it, but I am not a hater like most people like you. Okay. But Sean Payton, firstly, I trust Sean Payton. And Sean Payton really likes Jameis Winston. There's some coaches that if they see something, then I'm going to be a little bit more likely to trust their judgment. Now, if Adam Gase says, I am hyped on Jameis Winston, okay, that's a different scenario. But I trust Sean Payton. Sean Payton for months has said that the next quarterback for the Saints is already in the building. Obviously referring to both Taysom Hill and Jameis. But I still feel like there's a lot of talent there. I think Jameis obviously has some very glaring weaknesses, which include his turnover problems. Mm-hmm. However, I think with the right coach in the right situation, I feel like there is still an opportunity for Jameis to have a great career. Let me remind you, he is only 27 years old. Jameis is not actually that old. Tom Brady's 43. Is Tom Brady a freak of nature? Yes, of course he is. Is Jameis going to be in the league at 43? No, of course he's not. However, there's still a good 7-year at least opportunity for him to be relevant in the National Football League. So with that in mind, I feel like it's not a terrible move for the Saints. He has shown he can move the ball. Is Sean Payton think that he can stop the ball from turning over? That's the question. I think, are we going to talk about fantasy yet?
We're kind of just talking about current situation and what's really happening. I mean...
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you say why you don't like him then. Because I'm hyped on his fantasy outlook, but
okay.
Go ahead.
In my opinion, is the reason why I don't like Jameis Winston is what we've seen. We've seen in the Bucs when he was with the Bucs, he was a turnover machine. he was very inaccurate. He overthrew the ball a lot in his early years. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure that has improved. I don't think it is improved significantly, but it's definitely has something to do with, the way he throws the ball, kind of like a Josh Allen situation, but maybe they haven't really looked into depth with Jameis Winston in that scenario. Yeah. But clearly the biggest thing for me is turnovers. You win the game with not turning over the ball. And okay, first, he was 28 and 42 as a starter. Okay, that's in five. In his last shocking, 5 seasons, of course. Yeah. Right. The turnover clearly is his biggest issue. In the 5 years that he's been in the league, he's turned over the ball 111 times. Okay, 111 times. That's technically 1.1, but let's just round it up to 2. It's 2 interceptions per game that Jameis Winston has been throwing an interception and probably has lost games. Clearly, 28 and 42. That's not good. I understand.
You can't round it up to 2. It's 1.1. You can't round it up to 2 interceptions a game. You can't be like, why don't we just add another 0.9 on there?
Yeah, 0.9. I mean, look. You can't have a half interception.
You can't, but it would round down to 1. Regardless, you're right. Averaging 1 interception a game is awful for your career. That is terrible. And I think maybe the conversation we need to have is they didn't even trust him when Breeze got injured.
Exactly.
That's something we had to talk about.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill was a starter. Why didn't they start Jameis?
Because they don't trust him. Because they were in a playoff push and they know that his history with this turnover history that he was gonna at least throw an interception and do that. Like I believe that Sean Payton didn't believe that that Jameis Winston was ready. He was still learning. Okay. He was,
but he saw the potential.
I don't know. I just don't like. That's me.
Yeah.
That's my thought process. My biggest key factor for Jameis Winston to not be on the Saints is his turnovers, because I don't believe that he can drive the ball consistently. Just like a Drew Brees, obviously a Tom Brady, all these key quarterbacks that know how to drive the ball. He can't. He's gonna throw an interception. His confidence is gonna plummet, and then he's gonna be like, "Well, let's try to do it again." And then what's gonna end up happening? He's gonna try to throw it to freaking slant king and MT, and he's just gonna overthrow him.
Okay, I see your understanding. I understand that. And I think they're all very valid points. I still think there's talent there. And I think if it could be molded by the right head coach, I think something very special could happen. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying I am not counting out Jameis just yet in his career. If things don't work out here, then you can absolutely count him out. Let's talk about some potential landing spots. Obviously, the Saints, there's some history there. Peyton likes Winston. He says he would like to re-sign him. To me, I feel like the Saints are in a great position because there's not many other teams that we both would see him landing with. Other reports have said the Bears are a potential landing spot. They're notorious for giving quarterbacks a shot. I don't see that making much sense.
Same.
Do you?
I don't think so. I don't like the Bears. If you want to talk about a really bad move, in my opinion, I think Jameis Winston is a downgrade from Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky. Let me rephrase that. I think he's a downgrade from Nick Foles. Mitch Trubisky could be more of a lateral move.
Okay. Other teams that are mentioned that we both just decided this is not going to happen. Patriots, we don't see that happening. The Steelers, look, they already have a young, talented project, quote-unquote, guy in Haskins. I don't think they need another. Washington, don't think he's a good fit there either. I really think the Saints have a lot of leverage here. And I feel like he is more likely to land with the Saints than anyone else. However, the Bears, because they have been notorious to give quarterbacks a shot, he could end up there as well. I just don't see many fits for him as a starting quarterback. And that's what he wants to do, I'm sure. Yeah. Let's talk about fantasy impact. Let's say he does fall with the Saints. I would love that to happen for fantasy because I feel I could target him late in drafts and he could absolutely finish as a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. He has shown with the Bucs that he can, despite throwing 30 interceptions. Imagine he just cut that in half. Imagine he just threw 15 interceptions and he still had Alvin Kamara, maybe Emmanuel Sanders comes back, Michael Thomas, who knows if Jared Cook still has a career or not. But there's a lot of pieces there that he could absolutely be fantasy relevant with. If he re-signs with the Saints, I'm absolutely thinking about taking a shot at him late in rounds. Does that mean he's my quarterback 1 to start week 1 in fantasy? No, that doesn't mean that. However, I am more likely to reach late, let's say in the 11th, 12th round for a guy like Jameis, than I am to reach early for a guy like Patrick Mahomes. You know, there's two different strategies there. Right. I feel like absolutely Jameis could be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy this year with the Saints.
So, in your scenario, who are you taking? Okay, if you're not going to reach really early for somebody like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Lamar, like a Josh Allen, you're going to get somebody in those middle rounds, and then you still see Jameis in those late rounds. Who is your quarterback in that middle? Who's your first quarterback? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, and honestly, it's really hard to say because it really depends on how a draft falls, right? Because I don't know how the people in my league are necessarily going to draft. But I think a guy like maybe Justin Herbert, Ryan Tannehill, maybe Tom Brady, Stafford, those are the kind of guys I might pick in those middle rounds and then maybe have Jameis Winston as a potential breakout later in drafts so I could have some trade value if that does work out for both of those players.
Okay. Good to know. Look, in my opinion, I don't like Jameis Winston as a quarterback or as a fantasy option. I know he's proven himself to really be a top 5 quarterback in scenarios and instances, but I don't believe that he's consistent in his play, and I don't believe that he is going to come in and be this guy that's going to, you know, drop you 30 plus points every game or drop you the minimum of at least what I like to call minimum for a quarterback for me is at least 20 points. I think that's a decent, you know, bracket for me. I think that with his turnover problems, he can do that because usually what happens is that Jameis Winston probably goes one game without throwing a interception, but he will go
and then he just throws 3.
Yeah, he'll go 3. Exactly. He'll go 3 or 4 interceptions in one game. He's like, bro, what's going on here? I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not really excited about that. I don't think that's somebody that I can trust in. I think I would still rather go the guys that you've taken a chance on a Tom Brady, a Matthew Stafford, or Ryan Tannehill. I do like those guys better, and I'm more confident in
for sure.
in just having somebody like that than rather taking. I think I would rather take a chance on a young rookie receiver, a young rookie running back than a Jameis Winston because I would just rather stream one or two.
Let me ask you this then, because I think this might be the point I'm trying to take away. In your mind, is there a possibility, if he signs with the Saints, that he finishes as a top 8 fantasy quarterback? Is there a possibility? Be honest. Take away your anger for him. Is there a possibility? Just a possibility.
I don't.
Yes or no?
I generally, with all bias aside, I do not believe he can be a top 8 quarterback. I think we have to think about the quarterbacks that can be ahead. Just the top 5, okay? Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray. Who else didn't I say? Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert. That's 8 right there.
Russell Wilson. I know. We said the same thing in 2019 when he threw 30 interceptions. So I'm just saying,
crazy,
there's a possibility.
You have to really put that in perspective. When a guy throws 30 interceptions, he was throwing the ball a lot.
I know.
They didn't
have an Alvin Kamara there. I get it.
I think he can definitely be 10 to 15. top
Yeah.
8, I don't see him in the top 8. 10 to 15, I'll definitely give you that. I'll shake your hand and be like, I'll shake you with Jameis Winston in the top 15, top 10 to 15.
Okay. All right. Well, I really want him to sign with the Saints now so we can see what's going to happen. All right. We've got an old timer next. We're talking Ryan Fitzpatrick, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on this at all because I think obviously it's going to be hard for him to find a starting gig right now in the National Football League, considering when you look at the teams that need a quarterback, how many of them Ryan Fitzpatrick is fun, but does he bring wins? That's harder to say. He's a free agent. I don't think he's returning to Miami. I think we both agree on that. I think Miami needs to absolutely allow Tua to grow and don't have a backup plan. Will he have a chance at starting at quarterback again? What do you think? Quickly, just a yes or no.
No.
Okay.
If he does...
However, yeah?
Sorry, really quick. If he does, it's an injury-related thing. You know, somebody's hurt,
Okay.
something happened, blah, blah, blah. But other than that, no, I don't see it.
He is 38 years old, and that's old unless you're Tom Brady. Here's some potential landing spots. Let's just go straight to some potential landing spots. And one that you brought up that I think makes a lot of sense is the Texans.
Yes. Doesn't matter.
And why? Because at first when you said that, I was like, nah, no way. But why does that make sense?
Well, in my thought process was, you know what? They trade away Deshaun Watson. They get a young quarterback in the draft. But, you know, Ryan Tannehill is a great mentor. He's been in the league for years.
Fitzpatrick.
He's been on multiple teams, like 7+ teams, 8+ teams. In his career, he can come in and mentor that young guy, whoever that young guy is. He's going to come in, step in, and say, you know what? This is what happens. This is what you can do. Keep your head up. We heard and saw what he was doing in Miami with Tua, and that was great for Tua.
Yeah.
You know, he was really encouraging him. And I like that thought process. I think they bring him purely as a mentor role and obviously a just-in-case backup quarterback.
For sure. And maybe he starts a couple games in the scenario that Watson is traded and there's a new rookie quarterback in town. By the way, you said Ryan Tannehill. We're talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. Tannehill's a great mentor. I'm sure he seems like a great guy. The other fit that I see is the Colts. And I think this is just fun. This is just for fun. I don't think this is very serious, but maybe they don't find their long-term guy this year. So maybe they go with another one-year rental, so to say, like they did this year and grab Ryan Fitzpatrick. But let's quickly talk about fantasy impact. If Ryan Fitzpatrick goes to the Colts, doesn't that make you more excited for, let's say, Michael Pittman Jr.? Yeah. Let's say he is actually the starter there. That makes me more excited for those assets there.
Yeah, I would be excited for that. Obviously, we know Ryan Fitzpatrick just likes to chuck the ball up and give his receiver an opportunity to win. And I would be excited, just like you said. Michael Pittman Jr., Will Fuller, wherever he lands, he is always going to throw the ball up and chuck it and let his guy have the opportunity to catch it. So I think wherever he goes, if he does have a starting opportunity, those people on the team could be fantasy relevant. Maybe not Ryan Fitzpatrick, but the receivers and weapons around him could have opportunity.
Agreed. We don't need to spend any more time on that. Who's the last guy we're talking to close the show?
Superman. They call him Superman, the old time Superman now. Cam Newton, number one. Look, so much with Cam Newton. Obviously, his current situation didn't really do too well his last year in New England, and obviously he signed a 1-year contract there with the Patriots. But just to give you some context, he did not throw a touchdown in 9 out of his 15 games. Okay, which is terrible. Okay, that's really bad. He only threw 8 touchdowns, but he threw 10 interceptions, which is, if you throw more interceptions than touchdowns, and you only threw a single-digit touchdowns, I can count how many touchdowns you count in one. And technically, my 10 fingers, that's not okay as an NFL quarterback.
But technically, I mean, if you can throw 30 interceptions and 30 touchdowns, no, I'm kidding. Jokes. Go ahead.
But yeah, absolutely. Look, Cam Newton didn't have the best. He did contribute in the run game, though. He rushed for 529 yards. He rushed for 12 touchdowns, which is kind of good. I don't really.
It's great.
Yeah.
From a quarterback perspective, that's great.
Yeah, you're right. For a quarterback, that's great. I think I would love my quarterback to be throwing a touchdown and running it in. I don't think it really matters. Who cares?
But you know the difference there is we play in a 6-point touchdown league for quarterbacks, and some people don't. So some people value that a little bit differently.
Yeah. So obviously he's in New England. He's not likely to return. There's reports saying that there's 25% chance that Cam Newton will return. Let's not forget his age. He's 31 years old. He's not old, but he's right in that middle. That he's turning. It's like and
it's almost like he's not old, but he is old for the type of style he plays at the quarterback position.
Right.
He's never going to be able to play until these Drew Brees and Tom Brady ages, because that's just not the way he plays.
So unless they see a massive development, which I think he can stay in the pocket, but if he can learn how to stay in the pocket a little bit more efficiently, which I know he can, and not use his legs, and him using his legs not be the first instinct, then I think Cam Newton still could be a great quarterback. But look, potential landing spots. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, I would like to say, isn't it funny how we talked about Cam Newton after week 1? I remember specifically, we just made a reel, a TikTok about Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl. I remember Max Kellerman on ESPN. Shout out to him. He's actually a great guy. I love First Take and Stephen A. Smith. But I remember he said that Brady was falling, obviously, declining, and Cam Newton and Bill Belichick were doing the right thing after week 1. 1 win. Oh, look at what they can do. They don't need Brady.
Right.
Cam's the answer. People were talking about Cam Newton like all these teams missed out on him. How did the Patriots get such a discount? And obviously now we're talking about him as in, man, he really didn't have a great year. Probably not a starting quarterback, if we're honest. I don't know. I see that differently than you. I think it's funny. You have a higher outlook on Cam, and I have a higher outlook on Jameis. I feel like I would much rather have Jameis Winston as my starting quarterback than Cam Newton, because I feel like there's more abilities with Jameis Winston.
Right.
I don't think there's a great fit for him to be a starter. There's teams like the Bears. Do you really want to bring in Cam Newton to Chicago? Maybe that helps. I don't think Washington, even though there's that Ron Rivera history, I don't think that's a great fit. Maybe they bring him into Denver. We talked about that. Maybe bring some competition for Drew Lock or a rookie if they draft a rookie.
Yeah.
Maybe get a battle going in. But I just don't see a scenario where he walks in as a starter anymore. I don't think he's a starter anymore in this league.
No, I think you're right. I don't see him really going anywhere. And I just want to say, let's not forget the team that he went on. He went on the team that had the most opt-outs in this COVID year.
Okay.
He had no weapons around him. Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't play for a whole year technically. So he was out of the game for a year. And the offensive line, which was the majority of the people that opted out, wasn't great. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
So it was a bit hard for him to kind of come in.
He missed one game because of COVID as well.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
Yeah, he did miss one
game
due to COVID. But let's not forget, like, he came into a situation. He came back probably the worst year he could have come back into the league.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm interested to see if he does land. Let's just say he lands, hypothetically, in Washington. He does have receivers. He has Antonio Gibson. The defense is good. The offensive line is decent.
Please, no.
So, I mean, I think if he's in the right spot, then of course. Yeah. Imagine he went to the Colts. If he went to the Colts with the offensive line, Michael Pittman Jr.,
maybe.
JT.
I just don't get excited about him. And please, Washington, please don't do that. Please don't hurt me.
Yeah.
Physically. I would feel ill. But I just don't see him as a starter anymore.
Yeah.
And I think from a fantasy perspective, regardless of where he goes, I'm not sure he's someone that you should even draft, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you there. I think I have a little bit more of an understanding of Cam Newton's situation and Jameis Winston. We've seen what Cam Newton can do. I don't think his abilities just disappears. I think he's still that quarterback he needs. He's a guy that develops with time around his team. You know, he develops. He builds and feeds off relationships. So I think that obviously he probably didn't have the best relationships in New England, and maybe the people didn't really grow with him, or he didn't grow with the people, whatever the case may be. It's really interesting to see where he goes, if he does go anywhere. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, regardless, I do think his time in New England is done.
The GG's, boys. Thanks for playing.
But hey, I really enjoyed talking about these free agent quarterbacks, and I feel like we're going to obviously talk about free agent running backs next week on the show. I'm more excited about running backs, wide receivers, tight ends than I am quarterbacks. I think this was an awesome show, but I'm way more excited to talk about that.
There's so many.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed. There is so many free agents this year that could absolutely impact fantasy, both for every position, to be honest. Every position could be impacted by where these guys go.
I just quickly pulled up the list.
Yeah,
I can name a few. Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, go ahead.
James White, Mike Davis. Not really fantasy. Leonard
Aaron
Fournette.
Jones.
Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore. Who else?
And there has been talks as well that Adrian Peterson apparently wants to work with Tom Brady. I'm not sure that makes him fantasy relevant.
Imagine Tom Brady's like, who's another old guy in the league? You want to win a ring? You want to win a ring, huh, AP?
He's like, we did that for LaShawn last year. I mean, you want a ring? Come on over, bro.
Come on, bro.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning into the show today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And do not miss our next show. We are talking about... What are we talking about? I forgot what the next show is.
Free agent running backs, I'm pretty sure.
No, that's not the next show. We've got rookies, right? Are we talking about rookies?
Ah, right.
I'm sorry.
Look, whenever the next episode comes out, that's when you know.
Yeah, you'll know. All right. I actually just found out what it is. We are talking about rookie radar. We're talking about the quarterbacks, rookie radar. So that's going to be fun. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We will see you on the next show. See you there.
See you there.
Hey, yeah, you, the one listening to this podcast, you made a good decision today. Keep making those good decisions. You know what? Go ahead and do a little dance right now, like no one's watching. 'Cause you deserve it.